What's up, everybody? It's your girl Keisha from Put Your Phone Down podcast. Surprise, okay. We're gonna get straight into it. We have a returning guest, and when I tell you the same with the interview that I had with her in January, extremely gifted, compassionate. We just chatted a few seconds ago, and when I tell you, you guys are in for something now. I'm not the therapist, but I do have somebody on here. And when I tell you I wanted to bring this to people because it's something that is going on, but we don't talk much about it. And I'm going to say now, it may cause some triggers, but my goal is to bring healing to this conversation and also just start a conversation for people to know that this stuff does exist. We have my returning guest and an awesome therapist. She got some great news for y'all too. I'm just gonna put that out there. Miss Sherry Posey, and I want to thank you again. Welcome to Put Your Phone Down podcast.
Hello, Miss Keisha. Thank you for having me again. It's an honor to be able to be here again.
You making history. Do you understand this? Like, I mean, come on.
Thank you. I'm excited to be a part of history.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anybody else to bring this to light because the first conversation we had, it was heavy too. It was actually I think my goal was like, okay, this will be about 30 minutes, but it stretched into something that I felt people needed to hear. And afterwards, I had people hitting me up like, yo, I didn't realize social media addictions was a real thing. And
Yes.
before we end, I want to tap on that a little bit because I think you said, oh, everybody, this is Friday, she making an appearance. I think that you said that it was going to be pretty much a thing where therapists was going to put that down alongside with gaming. So we go touch on that. But the one thing I want to touch on right now is toxic mother and daughter relationships.
Yes.
Um, I don't even know where to start. I just feel like it's a thing, you know?
Mhm.
So I guess I'll start with maybe the question, can it be possible that a mother who birthed her own daughter can be jealous?
The simple answer is yes. The simple act of giving birth, well, it's not simple. Anybody's had a baby, I tell you, it's not simple. I had a couple, so, and that second one really wasn't. But anyway, it's not simple. But giving birth does not guarantee a healthy bond between mother and child. And at any time, that relationship between mother and daughter can be altered. It can be changed based on the life situations, age of mom, socioeconomic status, whether that's you got a lot of money or you got any. Both of them could affect it. Relationships with the father, uh, achievements. Jealousy can come in, and toxic relationships between parent and child are nothing new.
See, you touched on so many topics that I even wanted to dive in because
Mhm.
when I work with kids, and I work with young kids, but it would be something in me that's like, okay, why is the mama pressing the daughter so hard or talking about her as soon as she come out of a room? But I don't have kids, and so in my mind, I just thought I was tripping.
Mhm.
But as you get older, you don't look at it as tripping anymore. Sometimes it is what it is. And you touched on the subject of the father. So I think I want to dive in that. So let's say you have the situation where the dad has more of a bond with the daughter, or it appears to be,
Mhm.
and that sparks that relationship or that tension between mother and daughter. Because of course, maybe the wife, whoever she is, desires that same type of relationship.
Yes.
How can the daughter, manage that? Do you have any type of advice for the daughter that might be going through something like that?
Well, okay. So what you described is a complicated relationship, right? So you have a couple, husband and wife, they have a child, they have this little girl, and dad falls head over heels for the little girl. You know, she's a daddy's girl. He's into spoiling her and making sure she's taken care of. Yes, sometimes that can be a problem for some women. And typically it is a problem for women who either never had that kind of love, that unconditional caring, and where they're adored by their own father, or they had a father who was what we call enmeshed, who so he was too into his own daughter, and that some boundaries are crossed, as far as he didn't set boundaries with his daughter. He didn't have limits. He could have over spoiled her, and she expected that relationship also from her husband. But then he has a child and he sees it differently. It's it's a complicated relationship, and I think especially right now we see some complications in it because we live our lives different. We're not aging at the same pace as we did 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. So women now are still, in their 50s and 60s like me, and out here doing new things. And so they're not relegated to that, oh, I'm just a grandmother space. Although being a grandmother, I must say, is my favorite title.
That's your favorite. I hear a lot of people saying that, like, you know what? I could have skipped on to be a grandmother.
I'm
But
telling you, it's a whole different ball game. It
so
is.
one thing that you touched on, and maybe that's where I should have started from, is you talked about, the background of the mother, what
Mhm.
it looked like to her. So either, like you said, you've been overmeshed. That's the terminology where the father was pretty much you was the trophy baby, and then you want that from your husband, but your husband is showing it to the daughter. So this stems back. And also, maybe you didn't want a daughter. You know what I'm saying? So those
Maybe
are
you didn't
things
want a
that,
child at all, but you went through and you had this baby, to please your spouse.
yes. And then it starts from there. Like when you looking at that child, you might want the friendship, but it turns into a resentment. So I
Right.
mean, this can go so many ways, like I said, and it's such a rabbit hole that honestly, I don't even know what next level to take it to. So again, I'm gonna take it to the subject that you and I just touched on.
Hmm.
Suppose you don't want a child, okay? You have the child, and
Yeah.
the whole time you're like, I just want a boy. Boys is easier. You already got the name for the boys. Do you think the resentment might start as soon as you find out you having a girl?
Oh, in some cases, definitely. Or or if you wanted a girl and you have a boy, sometimes the resentment does start. Definitely. Thankfully, typically, because of how we are designed, typically by the time you have your baby, that kind of thing subsides, and you are excited about your child. Once you give birth to your child, you're excited, but that is not always the case. It's not. And definitely, if you're having a child and you didn't really want it, this was not your plan, and it was for your spouse, there can be some resentment there. Sometimes women resent it if their bodies are changed, because that's inevitable. You carry a child, your body is changed in some kind of way, typically. Even if you're able to maintain your shape, your body goes right back down. There are still changes that you never kind of go back to. And so some women kind of resent that. In the normal cycle of parenting, when your daughters become young adults and adult women, the relationship should have a shift. The natural shift should be to an advisor, and you're over to the side and you're able to build typically a friendship with that child. And and not like friendship per se with your best friend or things like that per se, but an actual friendship where you and your daughter can share certain things with each other.
So so let's dive a little deeper, because now that people are listening, how does one know that they not tripping? Like, what are some signs? And I know it's an array of signs,
Mhm.
but what are the key signs that you be like, okay, I know I'm not tripping. My mama, she feeling some type of way
Mhm.
towards me. What can we look for to absolutely kind of know, like, all right, I'm not tripping?
Well, number one is, how does your mother respond to you? What is the conversation she has with you? Does she say remarks that make you feel uncomfortable? Is she uncomfortable when you're around your father? Is she uncomfortable, uh, or feeling jealous because some of the things that you have? Maybe your father worked hard and your mother worked hard and you were able to go to college and you have all these nice things, or they just provided them new cars, new things. And sometimes women do feel slighted. They say, I'm the wife, I should have it, not necessarily the daughter. And sometimes dads are like, well, that's my daughter. I work hard. I want her to have these things now. So, with any man that comes into her life or any person that comes into their life, I want them to be able to do at least what I do. And so sometimes, resentment comes because once your children grow up, you as a couple kind of have to develop a new relationship too.
Hmm.
And sometimes that's not happening. It,
So I guess it turns into a competition.
sometimes women do compete with their own children. I know it sounds crazy or unexpected in some kind of way, but sometimes that does happen. And that goes back to something being in that mom that is unfulfilled for herself, that you feel that you and your child are ever in some kind of competition, or who's the better. I've seen families. I do family counseling where they, like the mom, for example, in this case, was a really good dancer, right? So that was her thing. She was known in the family. They were having a party or something, mom is gonna hit this floor and everybody's gonna stand around with awe, and amazement, like, go ahead or whatever. Daughter comes along. Now she grows up under mom, who is a dancer, and of course she comes up along being able to dance like that too. And so she get out there on the floor and people start cheering for her, and maybe they cheered for her more. Now they could have been cheering for her more, I believe in this case anyway, because she was a kid growing up. But mom felt insecure about who she was, and it became an issue. And that's not something you would think that would become an issue. And again, that goes back not about the daughter herself. That was an issue with mom within herself.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
So how does a daughter or daughters, because I mean, it just doesn't stop at one. A mom could be jealous of all of them, whether it's beauty, whether it's, brain, you know, what could be your advice to, a woman that maybe is craving that relationship with her mom, but she's always known in the back of her mind. So ladies, if you're going through this, if some of you are,
Mhm.
you're not losing your mind. This is a real thing. What advice would you have for these women, young women even,
Mhm.
that know it to the core, and they can't speak to nobody because, of course, everybody in the family is probably go defend the mama. Girl, that's your mama. She not jealous of you, but you know what you know.
Mhm.
What would you tell them?
Well, the first thing I would say is, have you had a conversation with your mother? Have you had a sit down with her and saying, just ask her, Mom, what's this tension between us? I just really want to be close and have a good relationship with you as an adult child, a woman to woman, adult, mother to child, and ask and see if she is willing to be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes that might mean you need a mediator, somebody else sitting there, who may have witnessed some stuff as well, a part of the family who could be supportive. But just getting everybody together to just have that conversation. Or the second thing I can say, asking your mother about herself, getting to know who she is, what she experienced, what her life was like before you came into the world. What were her dreams, goals, aspirations before you came into the world? What happens sometimes is we'll have a child, and that changes our course. It changes our direction of what we had planned for our lives. We thought maybe you didn't think you would have a child until you're 30, but you had your child at 22. That changes your course of direction. I would say try to see if you can get to know her um, as a woman. Ask questions. So, Mom, tell me, what was it like? Or tell me about your first date. Or, Mom, tell me about high school. Did you play sports? Were you involved in the band? Just ask her questions about who she is, because I think what happens a lot of times in this cases and period is mothers kind of we put in a box and we step back and we kind of forget who we are other than being a mom.
Right. So what if those things are done? Is it fair that to say that some relationships, even if it's mother and daughter, just is it a such thing as it being beyond repair? If those, if you just don't get along.
Okay. Ooh. Now, as a therapist, it's how I have to think about how I want to answer that. Okay. Are there some relationships that are beyond repair because of um, the damage that was done in that relationship? Yes. Is that the norm? I'd say no. But there are some relationships where the acts of the parent are so egregious, so horrible, that it is unsafe for you to be in a relationship with them. And that doesn't mean just physically
Right.
unsafe. It could be unsafe for you mentally to share and be open and talk and be vulnerable in front of them. And so, with that, sometimes, yes. Um, the good thing I think is for the vast majority, though, I don't believe that's true. There's one caveat to that. Both people have to be willing to talk about it. They have to be willing to work at it.
Yeah. And it seems like, like again, this is the rabbit hole because sometimes I think as the mom, she can't switch that off. It's almost like, no, I'm right. Get out my business, or whatever buildup she's had. Sometimes it goes towards her daughters, especially if she sees her daughters living out, like you said earlier, her dreams. And that's the sad part because some people want that relationship, and then you got some that's like deuces. I tried. Every time we get together, is us arguing.
Mhm.
For the mediator, would you suggest a father, or do you think he should just be out of it?
Oh, no, I don't necessarily think the father is the person to be the mediator per se, unless he is somebody who can honestly be unbiased, because he would have to be a neutral party in it. I do think he could sit in on the conversation and share what he has seen or what he feels. But remember that in the relationship, him and the wife are a team. So you don't want to cross boundaries with that as well. And to to be truthful, I would think a professional mediator would be helpful if everybody is willing, and even the father participating. Because did the dad go overboard?
Yeah.
Did he shut out his wife in a lot of ways for his daughter? And that's
Ooh,
not the daughter's fault. That would be dad's fault.
that's
That
a
would be the
whole
husband's fault.
that's a whole nother page right there. Because sometimes I don't think they even realize, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, I got a baby girl, I want to give her the world, don't even realize, or sometimes they do. I'm just gonna X out her, but I'm gonna focus on my daughter, which I think would make anybody a little pissed. Like, yo, wait a minute. So like you said, the daughter didn't ask for it, but sometimes that's a good one right there.
Yeah, and
So
there has to be a hierarchy in the home. I didn't mean to cut you off. There has to be a
no,
hierarchy in the home. That primary relationship, the husband and wife, has to be the primary relationship in the home. It has to be the focus because you're supposed to be a team. Does that mean that kids wait and they don't get theirs? Absolutely not. But you got to be on a team. However, they're the covering. The children are beneath them. So you guys got to, as the couple, have to develop a strong bond, strong, good working relationship about what you want and how you want to raise your children and what and those kind of things. And I think sometimes they don't work. That part is not worked on enough.
right. Yeah, me too. I mean, just to put that in short. So we
Hmm.
got 22 minutes, and I told you I wasn't going to stretch your time out. I know you've been a busy woman, and I think we just got to like the first one, like the meat and the potato and the plate. And I think, you have helped whoever is watching is meant to watch, at least shed some light that, look, I'm not losing my mind. I've tried everything to communicate with my mom. Some women, have tried as little girls to even dim their own light. Well, I know
Yeah.
this gonna make my mama mad, so
Yes.
let me step back. So kind of like maybe in closing, because like I said, I was gonna give you 30, but I would love to have you back. I'm already saying this already because I think it's so many layers to this.
For sure.
You know, what can we once again say maybe to the mom, you
Mhm.
know, what's some advice we can give these mamas who know? They know, maybe they might not want to admit, but you know who you envious of.
You do.
What is this something that we can tell these kids, well, these women, grown women, now they're grandmothers, and they still have it out for their daughters?
Hmm.
Can you look them square in the eyes and let them know? Let them know something.
What I would want to say to these women is that it's okay that maybe some of your dreams you didn't get a chance to accomplish. If you're still living, you're still breathing, there is time. Focus on you. If your children are adult and they're on, put the focus on you and doing what you need to do. And number two, as your children blossom and grow and prosper, so do you, because you had to put something into them that allowed them to achieve and soar the way they did. It was because of sacrifices that you made. It was because of what you instilled in them, the beliefs and everything. And so you don't have to feel jealous of anybody because you can't compete with anybody but yourself. So release those feelings. If your daughter is doing well, turn to her and say, okay, baby, how did you do this?
There we go.
Okay, I can learn from you. Understand that we can learn from our daughters. My daughters are 33 and 36. I learn something from them every day, just about. If I'm calling them Kayla, Kelsey, blah blah blah, this or that. How do you do that? How do you do this? I admire some of the things that they do that I didn't feel brave enough to try.
Right. I
But
think it
I'm
all
not
comes with
jealous
being
of it.
honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
learned from
love
them.
that. I love that. I do. I think that the advice you gave, I hope if anybody is experiencing that and they know it to their core,
Hmm.
that they turning it up or they sending it to, and again, it's about healing
Yes,
because it's family at the end of the day,
yes,
and of course you do have some that are absolutely done with their mothers and some mothers are done with their daughters,
this
because
is
it's
true.
vice versa. You
This
know, I didn't touch on that, but you do have some daughters that for real look at their mama and be like, no, she can't come. I don't want
this
her here.
is
With
this
absolutely
is
no
true.
reason. Yeah. Make me think of Imitation of Life. For the
Oh
young, y'all
yes.
gotta watch
Oh,
that.
speaking of mothers, that my mother made us all watch that movie. That was one of her favorites. We sit down and had to watch it. My brother hates the name of that movie now. He just give him chills. He's the youngest, but we all had to watch that. That was my mom's movie.
I think you know what we did too. I didn't know it was two versions that came out, but
Oh,
it's it's wrapped into what we're talking about a little. You know what I'm saying? The mom gave the daughter her all,
yeah,
and the daughter just went on and she passed for another race. But when
yes.
it was all over, she was at that casket
Casket,
crying
yeah.
and Mama, I'm sorry.
And
you
that's
know?
and that's what we don't want. We don't want mothers or daughters at the casket crying, "I'm sorry,"
Yeah.
because it's too late. It's too
It
late.
is. Yeah, it's too late. So again, I'm already inviting you back. I mean,
Oh,
this is my debut. I guess this is how I'll be doing it from now on. And what better way to do it than to have a counselor sit with me and talk to me in your voice. And I'm like, okay, now I feel more comfortable because I was like, look, I'm nervous, but I got my big girl panties on. So
ooh,
what
nobody would know. Nobody would know that you were nervous at all.
oh girl, look. That's probably why my cat right here, she's like, okay, I'm sensing something, but
Okay.
um
Okay.
I wanted to put the highlight on you.
Okay. Okay.
And, we spoke earlier, and I was telling you, like, man, from the last time we talked, ladies and gentlemen, and that was in January, I know you all see some new letters behind this name. Can you share? Because I think you're going to have some people hitting up Michigan just to sit and talk to you.
Uh,
Can you tell people what you have been up to?
well, I can say God has blessed me in this season. That we've been working hard. I have now a national certified. I'm a national certified counselor, as well as I am a licensed professional counselor supervisor. So I supervise limited licensed therapists when they come out as well. And that gives me the opportunity to really affect more people because I'm able to help them. And it's something, I just thank God for. And I'm enjoying that. And also, my practice, we moved to a larger location. We have a couple actual rooms for therapy, plus a nice room where we can do groups because we're adding groups and things like that. And so I'm in a great space in Southfield, Michigan. We're on Southfield Road between 12 and 13. And we have some great things lined up. I am speaking at quite a few events this month as well. And so God has just really been opening doors. Again, I'm when I said for those mothers not to give up and keep moving towards their goals at 58, to have all these doors opening for me is just amazing. I feel inside like I'm 28.
Man.
Now, every once in a while, now my arthritis might remind me that I'm not, but other than that, I'm having a ball.
Mm. Oh, I mean, You know how I feel about this. Just the overwhelming feeling that I have, like I said, in knowing that it feels like a short time span. I know while you're going through it, it doesn't. But just in January, we were talking. And
Yes.
I know you, again, I know you had things lined up, but we're in mid May and Rising Phoenix is doing exactly what the name is. It's rising
Yes, ma'am.
through the Phoenix. Like I'm the Phoenix is rising.
Yes. Yes,
So
ma'am. We are.
can you let your are you taking any new clients and
We Yes, for definitely we are. Our website is risingphoenixca.org, or they can reach us at our office for Rising Phoenix Counseling Associates. Is area code 313-293-7460. Again, that's 313-293-7460. We offer in person counseling, as well as we do telehealth counseling as well. There's myself, and I have three wonderful therapists that are handpicked by me that I work with. I like to brag on one. She's my niece, Jennifer, and she's my co-director of our agency. And then I have a young man, Derek, who has a heart for our young men. I mean, he is absolutely amazing. I worked with him in protective services, and he just stood out like a light. There was a light about him and his passion as he was going to school. And I told him, oh no, I'm keeping in touch with you, I'm going to supervise you. And I knew once I had my agency open, I would ask him to be a part of it. And like I said, he is amazing. And then I have another young lady, Karen, who I used to work with. She used to be my supervisor when I first started with the state of Michigan, and we remained friends as I moved on. And she has a heart for working with young women and middle-aged women, that she is able to tap into them and get them on the road to recovery and positive mental health. So I'm blessed. I mean, we
the
literally
fact
just got, they literally just put our name on the sign outside the marquee and in the building on my door today, because the landlord emailed me a couple hours ago. Did you see the sign with your name? I didn't even notice it. I was just came in here happy go lucky, and I was like, let me go take a picture.
mm, it just oh my God, like you see this smile, like for real. You see this? I mean, it just
Thank
makes me so it makes me feel so warm
thank
to know, like you said, you just keep going. So I'm gonna touch on this because this is something that I said I was, and then I'm gonna let you celebrate, and however you celebrate, the one thing I did want to touch back on was the social media addiction.
Yes.
So as we're ending, it's probably gonna be two things I'm gonna ask of you
Okay.
to touch more on that, and also I know we spoke to the mom. Maybe in closing, maybe you can speak again to the daughters that are dealing with this. I know Mother's Day just passed, and it was some that was like, look, so let's touch on the social media addiction. Has it grown since the last time we spoke?
It is continuing to grow. We in social media, there's, like, for example, let's talk about, excuse me, about TikTok. Now they got an outrage about TikTok, and government does, and they want to kind of stop it and not have it here. My problem with that is they're not stopping it or want to streamline it because of the people that could potentially be harmed by it, being addicted to it. They want to stop it because of concerns about spying and access from people in China specifically, right? So it doesn't take into account, in my opinion, just strictly my opinion, all the people who are so glued to social media that they can't go to sleep. If it is so harmful for us sitting on our phones, we should, we scroll at night in the bed until we can't keep our eyes open. We don't know how many hours have gone by. You look up and 30 minutes has gone by. It seemed like I only looked at two things, but no, you've looked at more. The way we are processing that information as it comes so fast, you don't have time to fully digest what you're reading, what you're seeing, because you don't have time to think. You're scrolling, going to the next thing. We see it is such an issue with children where we have children not going to sleep because they felt they're up to 2 or 3 in the morning on YouTube or whatever. We have to be careful with that. It is an addiction where anytime where you see it is starting to cost you anything, sleep, eating, your relationships, your health, money, because you're spending so much money every time some new gadget comes up.
Right.
We have to really look into that and be careful about that, and be conscious about the downtime with it, because we do see it increasing.
I
And
think that's
but
so sad, man.
mhm,
I think it's sad. I mean, honestly, that's where the name of the podcast came from, and I'm not even trying to throw me in the mix, but
yeah,
uh, I noticed that even at the smallest places, the parks, people got their phones out and they taking 1,001 selfies and not paying attention to that big old oak tree, or
mhm,
just listening to the water or whatever it is. Wherever you go to the park, I would think that the park, for me, that's my therapy. But when I
yeah,
see people now, even at social events, they don't even match who you see online. Online, they turned up, they showing all their body parts. When you see them in person, they the shyest one in the room. They ain't saying nothing, or they gotta have their phone out. Like the moment you sit down to eat, wait, let's take a quick picture. You like, yo, like my mom, my sister, myself, we went out for Mother's Day,
mhm,
and I think we dressed up with the intent.
mhm,
Okay, we're gonna take some cute pictures. By the end of it, we was like, what's the use? You know what I'm saying? Like, we know we here, you know what I'm saying? But it's
yeah,
getting to that point where that becomes a part of your accessory. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like, you have to do it. Oh, wait, didn't nobody take pictures? What are you talking about? We know we here.
Right.
You
Why didn't
know,
you take a picture of that? Oh, you're out there on the lake. Because I was out on the lake enjoying being in the
yeah,
snow, taking pictures of me. They have more connection to a picture. Oh, look, you see the tree and it had birds in it. But did you see it while you were there?
yes,
You focus on the
yeah.
picture.
That's become, and you know what? It's made me more and more of a private person, especially since I'm working on a few goals. I am not. You hear me? Facebook don't need to know the winnings, because I definitely wasn't posting the losses. You hear me? Like,
I got you. I
I
got
wasn't on there letting y'all know how hard things had got. So I'm definitely not about to post a picture and make you think that I did some type of quantum leap from, from wanting it to now having it. No, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've become so withdrawn from
you.
that. So again, I would like to touch on that to make that a part two. I know we talked for a while on that, but
Sure.
I'm
Anytime.
noticing, yeah, it's like I'm noticing since the last time we spoke, people got taking pictures of them saying they last and final goodbyes to their loved ones. I'm like, yo, like, do we need to see this? Does that need to be posted? So I do think that that's a form, also, and you the therapist, so you can correct me. I think it's kind of leaning towards the narcissistic type of. It's feeding your ego a lot, to the point you can't make a motion because you want everybody cheering you on. Like, you've been on there crying. Why? We don't care about you crying.
And what they do is, you're right. It is feeding that. That's how you know you're worthy, how many likes you have or how many people saying something to you about everything. Everything doesn't need to be posted. Every time you go somewhere, I don't need to see a picture of every meal you eat or any of that. But I think a lot of people are so lonely that this is what they do. The the sad part is you're so lonely because you're so much into this and not talking to people oftentimes.
Yeah,
You
there
don't
we
have
go.
conversations.
I want to touch on the subject, and but I know that this is going to be posted. And before I even touch on it,
Mhm.
I worked with children as well, so I completely understand where this young man was coming from. So it's a young teacher, young black male teacher, and we don't have a lot of those. So I applaud you, young man, wherever you are, for even going into education. With that being said, there's a young man, I believe he was let go from his job for having his female students unbraid his hair. I know, again, when I worked with children, and that was a few years back,
Mhm.
they were creating so many rules where you may as well just been having a plexiglass. Like this is before COVID, before we couldn't hug, we couldn't have their numbers to check on them.
Mm.
And so you fast forward a few years now, he is actually recording it and posting it.
Yes.
This could have been a moment between them and it may be a conversation like, look, don't post this, you know. If you know what I'm talking about, do you think what no, what's your opinions about that situation?
Well, it's complicated. I think part of it is him just he's young and he's just being relaxed and allowing them to relax. I think that during part of it they could be sharing things about them that they may not share otherwise.
Yeah.
When you're in a relaxed state, that's when young people talk.
Hmm.
When I'm playing games with children in therapy, that's when they share some of their deepest secrets with me. Now, do I think a lot having them take down his hair was the best way to do it? No, because there's too much personal contact, those boundaries. And my concern would be some of these young girls, might develop a crush or feel
Hmm.
for him that might be inappropriate. I don't think he was really doing anything inappropriate. I think he really did, from what I could see, just want to connect with his students and figure, I'm young like them, but I'm older and enough where they can trust me and they talk to me. But I think it doing his hair, I think that might have been too far.
Do you think it should have been posted?
No,
Yeah. Now
no.
that I agree. Like I've seen it, you know, I've seen again it, working with the youth. Somebody braid they hair. They came out with a whole different hairstyle, and like you said,
Mhm.
conversation was made. We found out that they had a talent. Like we got a chance to really, tell them, hey, you did that. You can braid as a passion or as an occupation, and they walked away with a smile. It was nothing sexual. It was nothing, but it wasn't people recording and saying, hey, I want to post this because everybody doesn't have the same concept.
Yes.
And that was one of the things that he talked about when he said, hey, look, I have sisters. They've done my nails, but that's family.
Hmm.
But when you have somebody, a young girl, like you said, developing feelings, oh, I touched his hair. I think he liked me because I like him.
Right. You have to be careful.
Yeah. Yeah. I think where he went wrong, honestly, my opinion is everything does not need to be posted. That could have been something, a distant memory or whatever. But now it's termination. And I hope, young man, everything happens for a reason.
Mhm.
I hope you can learn from that and take it and have your own nonprofit organization, because we don't see a lot of you. So, in
Yeah.
closing, what would you tell our daughters, who have the jealous moms or the toxic relationships?
I would say, again, try to reach out to your mom and get to know her, who she is. But sometimes, like you said, the mother is not ready or able to. It is okay for you to set boundaries. It is okay for you to protect your well being, to protect your mental health. And sometimes that means we have to love people from afar. You don't necessarily have to put yourself in the firing line. I know I'm never for you disrespecting your mother, grandmother, aunts, and or anything like that. But you can say, be honest about how you feel, what you need. But if you need to separate yourself to a certain extent, then do it.
And
Then
there we have
and
it. Thank you so much for being on Put Your Phone Down podcast.
yeah.
I don't even I can't even believe we've been on this thing. It's close to 50. And I know I
Oh
promised
wow,
you
time
30.
is wow.
This how I get though. Like, I mean, for the people that get on this podcast, I really want to make it a full-blown conversation where we heal, we talk, and we learn something from one another. And again, I'm so glad that on your special day, your marquee, that you actually spent some time with Put Your Phone Down podcast. This is the first of many, because I want you back on. I
Oh
think
please,
that, yeah, I think we should have a day for real
yeah.
where we just, I want to pencil you in,
Mhm.
and we just can have a day where, somebody can come up with a topic and we can just go ahead and let them know you're not alone. You haven't lost your mind and you're entitled to feel how you feel.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So, like you said, you respectfully distance yourself.
Yes.
And maybe when the time is right, some people don't repair those relationships until mama is in that hospital or in that nursing home, and then y'all the best of friends. You never know. You know what I'm
Never,
saying?
and that happens. Sometimes mama can't do it until then. Who knows?
Who
But I just
knows?
want to thank you again, Keisha, for allowing me to come on your show again. To talk, anytime I get to talk about mental health, I am just excited, and honored and humbled by having the opportunity. I can't think of a better way to end today than to have this conversation with you. I appreciate
Ah, don't have me get emotional now. I mean, for real. But ladies and gentlemen, again, I want you to really and truly take a listen to this. Play it around family and friends. Don't hesitate to share it, and don't hesitate to come back and listen to this wonderful advice. It is food for your soul, and knowing that you're not by yourself.
it. No.
For the people that want to visit and set an appointment, she is taking patience, and she has a beautiful staff for our young men, our
Mhm.
young women. So let's give Rising Phoenix the love it deserves. She got a new marquee, so you will not miss it.
No.
You won't miss it. Your name is out there. I gotta see that picture because I'm excited already. So I want to thank you again for being a guest today. I'm excited now that I've gotten through this because I'm bashful. For real, I am. People
Well,
don't
you
believe
can't
that.
tell, but I mean, I think you were meant for this kind. That you are just meant to do this.
Thank
You
you.
should do it. It's a light about you. This is honest. There's a light about you. There's just signs that you're able to have this conversation. It's all about the way. I mean, it's down to the way you were designed, how you look. God designed everything to perfection because He knew even before you was in your mother's womb how He was going to use you, and how many people you can heal and you be helped by just being you. So thank
Girl,
you.
wait a minute. Now we got to end this now.
That's all I gotta say. I'm done. I'm going home.
We got Sherry Posey on the line, y'all, and all these initials and more coming. You know, right? More letters behind that
We're
name.
working on a couple more.
Yeah, and it's never too late, y'all. If you get nothing else out of this, it's never too late to repair relationships, and it's never too late to pursue your dreams. Woo!
Yeah, that's
My
right.
allergies are flaring up. So thank you. You guys can catch us, I believe, on YouTube. I'm just new at this, y'all. So I believe you can catch us on all major platforms. If you cannot, I'm speaking it in existence. You will. I'm also on where am I? Spotify and all those major platforms, iHeartRadio, but that's audio. So be looking for your girl. I'm Keisha, the podcast, the host, I'm sorry, Put Your Phone Down podcast. And we got Miss Sherry Posey. And I want you all to, again, follow and like and give her business. Thank you all. And I'll be back. I'm your host, Keisha from Put Your Phone Down podcast.
Bye bye.